Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Let me share my screen. You can see my screen as well, Prabhuji?
No, it's coming up. Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So, all right, Prabhuji. So we'll make a start. We'll start with a small kirtan, and then we will discuss the 17th chapter today.
Yes,
All
Prabhuji.
right. All right. Thank you. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe Jaya Radha Gopi Vallabha Radha Gopi Vallabha Radhe Jaya Radha Govardhan Dhari Radha Govardhan Dhari Radhe जय राधा गोपीनाथ राधा गोपीनाथ राधे जय राधा दामोदर राधा दामोदर राधे जय राधा श्याम सुंदर राधा श्याम सुंदर राधे जय राधा माधव राधा माधव राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे जय कृष्णा जय कृष्णा जय कृष्णा जय श्री कृष्णा जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी नयन पथगामी भाव तुम्हें जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी नयन पथगामी भाव तुम्हें निताई गौरांगो निताई गौरांगो निताई गौरांगो गौर हरि जय सचिनंदन जय सचिनंदन जय सचिनंदन गौर हरि जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल the prayers, Mangalacharya prayers, and then we'll start the class. Om Ajnantivirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurummilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Stute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Bhevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah जय श्री कृष्णा चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे प्लीज रिपीट आफ्टर मी ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Devaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Om Namo Bhagavate
भगवते
Vasudevaya.
वासुदेवाय
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Krishnaya vasudevaya devaki nandanaya cha nandagopa कुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। नमः पंकजनाभाय नमः पंकजमालिने नमः पंकजनेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजांग्रहे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौर विषे नमः। नमो ब्राह्मण्याय देवाय गो ब्राह्मण हिताय च जगद्धिताय कृष्णाय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। नमः ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna Prabhuji and Mataji, Danvat Pranam to everyone. Thank you for joining the class. I'm really grateful that you have chosen to join this class. So today we are going to discuss on Srimad Bhagavatam, obviously. And we are going to talk about the 17th chapter in the third canto. So the third canto, basically the name of the canto is the status quo. So I just want to briefly go over the topics which have been covered till now, very, very briefly. So like, for example, chapter 1 is questions by Vidura. So the context here is like Vidur Maharaj has left his home. He left the home of his brother Dhritarashtra because he was insulted and because he gave the right advice to Dhritarashtra to return some portion of the kingdom to Pandavas, but he was chastised, so he left the place of his brother Dhritarashtra and then went on a pilgrimage. And on the pilgrimage, he met Uddhava. He met Uddhava on the bank of river Yamuna, and then since he meets Uddhava, he asks Uddhava some questions about his relatives, about Pandavas, about Kunti Maharani. How are they? How is Lord Krishna? So and then he comes to know that all of that the Pandavas, the Lord Krishna has left the planet and his dynasty has been destroyed by the will of the Lord. So he gets those answers from Uddhava, and since Vidura asked questions about Lord Krishna to Uddhava, Uddhava remembers Lord Krishna. So the chapters 2 and 3 actually talk about the pastimes of the Lord in Vrindavan. So these two chapters actually give a glimpse of the 10th canto here. And Uddhava is remembering the pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna here. And then Uddhava actually asks Vidura to approach Maitreya Rishi. Now Maitreya Rishi, Lord Shri Krishna, before leaving the planet, gave all the knowledge about himself to Uddhava. And Maitreya Rishi, out of his great providence, was also present. So when Lord Shri Krishna was giving instructions to Uddhava, Maitreya Rishi was also present there. And in chapter 4, actually, Uddhava asked Vidura to approach Maitreya Rishi so that he can get answers to his questions. And Uddhava actually leaves for Badrika ashram so that he can meditate on Nar Narayan Rishi. So all that comes in chapter 4. Then there are now this chapter 5 to chapter, let's say 15. These are actually questions by Vidura and answers by Maitreya Rishi. And Vidura is asking very, very extensive questions to Maitreya Rishi. This 10 chapters, I mean, not just 10, but further down the line also. But these questions are really about how the universe is created, how the people fall down in nescience. Why do they fall down in nescience? Though the Supreme Lord is present within them as super soul, why are they still falling into nescience? Why do they associate with material energy? How the Lord, who is actually self-satisfied, creates this material world, and extreme details and technical discussions are there. Then there is like division of creation. So wherein the discussion about different types of creatures are described. Creatures who have a horizontal, what I would say, the digestive system. Then creatures who have vertical. For example, trees have vertical where the roots are at the bottom and then it feeds up. And for us humans, we feed through our mouth and the digestion happens down. So all this classification, division, all these technical things are described. Then calculation of time is described. What is the lifespan of Brahma? What is a day? What is the duration of Brahma? What happens during a daytime of Brahma? Like there are 1,000 yuga cycles. Then each yuga cycle, like for 71 yuga cycles, there is a new Manu. So all these details about how this universe functions, how this universe is created, and how this is annihilated is described. And then the important part here is like Brahma's prayers. He gets bewildered. Then he prays to the Lord. He does tapasya. Then he gets that creation power to create. And the first creation he does is of 4 Kumaras. Then he tries to order them to do further creation, but they simply refuse and just go away. And then Brahma creates Rudra, and then Rudra starts creating the population. But then that population is creating a lot of disturbances in the universe. So Lord actually asks Rudra to do penances, and that will benefit the whole creation. Then the Lord, then Brahma actually creates the first Manu, and when that Manu is when the Manu comes in, Brahma sees that the earth has been submerged in the Garbhodakshayi ocean. Then he's thinking about, I mean, because Manu asked him, how do I do the creation? The earth is not present. So then the Lord Brahma actually meditates, and then out of his nostrils, Varahadev appears. Now there are actually 2 appearances of Varahadev. The first appearance, which is called as Adi Varahadev, or the I would say, yeah, Adi Varahadev, happens in this 13th chapter. The description is given in this 13th chapter. And there is another appearance of Varahadev, or the Sweta form of Varahadev, or the reddish form of Varahadev, which actually happens during the 6th Manmantra, the 6th cycle of the Yugas. And during that time, Lord Varahadev actually fights with Hiranyaksha and kills him. So these 2 appearances of Lord Varahadev are also described. And then how and why how does this demon come into, I mean, how did Hiranyaksha come? So that is described in this chapter related to pregnancy of Diti in the evening, that it is inauspicious time. And why is it inauspicious? Because Lord Shiva along with his ghost are traveling during that period, and hence it has a bad effect on that. So that is also described in chapter 14. Then chapter 15 is about the description of the kingdom of God, about Vaikuntha, and it gives details about how is the Vaikuntha, what happens in Vaikuntha and all that. So that is in chapter 15. And yesterday we had a class, very good class by Dasraj Prabhuji on the chapter 16, which is about the 2 doorkeepers of Vaikuntha, because the background about those 2 demons is being described. So how those 2 demons are actually Jaya and Vijay, and who are cursed by these 4 Kumaras who went to Vaikuntha to see the Lord. And Jay and Vijay, being the doorkeepers of Vaikuntha, they stopped them from going inside. So the Sanat Kumaras were able to open the 6 gates of Vaikuntha, but finally Jay and Vijay stopped them. And the Sanat Kumaras actually become angry, and then they curse Jay and Vijay. And how the Lord comes out and pacifies the Sanat Kumaras. All that we discussed in the class yesterday, which was wonderfully given by Dasraj Prabhuji. If you actually look at it, I mean, now, I mean, one point is like, does Vaikuntha need doorkeepers? I mean, think about it. Think about it. Since nobody can enter Vaikuntha, right? And unless you are qualified, nobody can enter Vaikuntha by force, right? You can only enter Vaikuntha if you are qualified. I mean, the Vishnu Dutas can only bring people to Vaikuntha, but Jay and Vijay are actually doing a service, and they are doing a service probably which is maybe not required, right? Jay and Vijay, but if you look at it, they are doing a service to the Lord, and the Lord is very pleased with their service, and hence, in order to glorify them and in order to enjoy that Virya Ras, the Lord uses Jay and Vijay, and he by his providence, the Sanat Kumaras actually curse Jay and Vijay, and then they fall down. So that chapter 16 is all about. Now, in chapter 17, we will look at the birth of Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, and how these two demons actually become very powerful. And then the description of what happens during that birth. We'll see the signs which are exhibited in the nature, and Prabhupada gives very good purports. So this is actually a little smaller chapter. There are not many big purports in this chapter, but then there are very subtle instructions and very subtle things to be learned from this chapter, which I will talk about as we make progress. One of the most important thing is about having authority. So if you do not have authority, what happens? And that will come out. So let's make a start in this. And any questions, you can stop me at any point of time. So, and what we will do is we'll read the translation. We'll also read the purports, because as I said, there are not many big purports in this chapter, and it's a pretty small chapter, 31 shlokas, but since there are not many purports and they are self-explanatory, we'll go a little fast in some of these shlokas. Okay, so text 1. Shri Maitreya said, the demigods, the inhabitants of the higher planets, were freed from all fear upon hearing the cause of the darkness, explained by Brahma, who was born from Vishnu. Thus, they all returned to their respective planets. What is happening is the demigods are seeing that there is darkness all in the planetary, in all the 14 planetary systems, and hence they approach Brahma for explanation that why this is happening, because they are not aware that Jay and Vijay have been cursed and they have fallen down and are now being born as demons. So they go and approach Brahma basically to understand the reason for this. Now, an important point here is even the demigods. So let's look at the purport. The demigods, who are denizens of higher planets, are also very much afraid of incidents such as the universe becoming dark, and so they consulted Brahma. This indicates that the quality of fear exists for every living entity in the material world. So even for the demigods, they have fear. So the four principles of the principal activities of material existence, like eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating, the fear element also exists in the the fear element exists also in the demigods. So on every planet, even in the higher planetary systems, including the moon and the sun, as well as on this earth, the same principles of animal life exist. Otherwise, why are the demigods also afraid of the darkness? The difference between the demigods and ordinary human beings is that demigods approach authority, whereas the inhabitants of this earth defy authority. If people would only approach the authority, then every adverse condition in the universe could be rectified. Arjuna was also disturbed in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, but he approached the authority, Krishna, and his problem was solved. Conclusive instruction, so this is important, of this incident is that we may be disturbed by some material condition, but if we approach authority who can actually explain the matter, then our problem is solved. The demigods approached Brahma for the meaning of the disturbance, and after hearing from him, they were satisfied and returned home peacefully. So this is a very, very important point about authority, right? Now, if you, I mean, for us, the authority, I mean, what is authority actually? Now, if you look at it, I mean, do you think the government is the authority? Yes, it is one kind of an authority. For certain matters, government is the authority. But for us, the ultimate authority is Guru. The ultimate authority is Shastras. The ultimate authority is the devotees or the senior Vaishnavas, right? Or the Vaishnavas are the authority. So for us, we must always approach, I mean, when we say approach the authorities, we must approach these, approach the senior Vaishnavas, learn from Shastras, take instructions from Shastras. And the third is approach the Guru. Whenever there is a dilemma, whenever there is some difficulty, approach the Guru or approach these Vaishnavas who are accessible and discuss with them. So, because I mean, if you look at it, like even if you have to achieve some material objective or even in like a project in office, you have to follow an authority, right? We all work under an authority, no matter how great, or even if you become president, CEO, or anybody, they have some authority guiding them, helping them, or controlling them. I would rather say controlling them. So the authority is a must even in the material setup, and it is a must even in spiritual setup. If you look at the Lord himself is independent. The only person who is independent in this whole creation or anywhere is actually the Supreme Lord. But even that Supreme Lord accepts authority. Like he is ready to accept the authority of his pure devotees. He is ready to come under the authority of his pure devotees. For example, Lord Vishnu is ready to become a doorkeeper for Bali Maharaj. Right? It is like accepting an authority. Right? And like, for example, Lord Shri Krishna is becoming the charioteer for Arjuna, again accepting authority. The Lord is actually dancing for his, dancing for a cup of buttermilk for the gopis. Again, he's coming under their supervision and their authority, right? He's dancing just for a cup of buttermilk. So he's accepting authority. So the Lord, by his behavior, is showing that we must always be under some authority. In fact, if I remember, there was a lecture given by Bharat Krishna Prabhuji on Vaishnava etiquettes. And one of the things which he mentioned in that is we must always be under some authority. So this concept of being under some authority or not being independent is very, very important for our spiritual progress. And we must have the correct authority. We must not, I mean, if you have a wrong, I mean, if you submit to a wrong authority, you will be exploited, which is what happens in today's material world. But submitting to a guru, submitting to a right guru, submitting to right Vaishnavas, I mean, I would not say right or wrong Vaishnavas, submitting to Vaishnavas is the correct authority for us. And submitting to Shastras, because if you learn Shastras, the Shastras will tell you what is right and wrong. So this is what is the important thing which we must learn from this, that we must always be under authority. Let's move ahead. Verse 2, the virtuous lady Titi had been very apprehensive of trouble to the gods from the children in her womb, and her husband predicted the same. She brought forth twin sons after a full 100 years of pregnancy. Okay, so very straightforward. Diti was, repentant of what had happened, and since Kashyapa Muni, right? No, yeah, I think Kashyapa Muni told her that you will have bad sons. She became apprehensive, and it's pretty straightforward. Let's move ahead. On the birth of the two demons, there were many natural disturbances, all very fearful and wonderful in the heavenly planets, the earthly planets, and in between. Now, since Jay and Vijay, who are very powerful, like they are having characteristics similar to Lord Vishnu. Now they are taking births as demons, so they are very powerful, and hence there are many disturbances which are happening in all the 14 planetary systems when they are taking birth as demons. There were earthquakes among the mountains on the earth, and it appeared that there was fire everywhere. Many inauspicious planets like Saturn appeared along with comets, meteors, and thunderbolts. So there were these disturbances which could be seen in nature. There was fire. There was now in Vedic astrology, Saturn planet is not considered to be very good. Somebody who has, I'm not an expert, but I don't have any knowledge, but I have just heard that a Saturn planet is not good or is inauspicious. People who have this planet in their horoscope are generally people who are fault finding or who are actually trying to trouble others. So that is what it means. And as we can see, so when the natural disturbances increase, it means that the number of demonic people is increasing. That's what Prabhupada is saying. And we can clearly see this today in Kali Yuga. We have many disturbances all around. You can see in India, we are seeing the temperatures increasing, the heat increasing, the summer is more, I would say, intense. And then in other places, you can see that there are tornadoes, there are places where you can see the wars are going on. So all this clearly is showing that demons have taken birth. And in history also, you can see the various demons who have taken birth and caused havoc on earth. Not very far, right? We had this World War II, Hitler, Churchill, all these demons were present. Stalin, these are just small demons which cause so much havoc on the planet Earth, right? They cause so much disturbance, so much destruction, so much death and pain, and that is what is the root cause actually, right? That this is what Bhagavatam is clearly saying. If you want to solve the problem of today's disturbances, it is about having good progeny. So the solution, the problem and the solution both are given. So but then people think that these are all whimsical things, these are all superstitious things, and there's nothing like that. So that's where they don't want to follow that authority of the Shastras. If you don't follow the authority and you become independent, this is what happens. You become whimsical, you become independent, and then you try to do things which cause harm to others and disturb the peace in the society. Let's move ahead. Fifth shloka. There blew winds which were most uninviting to the touch, hissing again and again and uprooting gigantic trees. They had storms for their armies and clouds of dust for their ensigns. Ensigns are basically flags. So they were they had storms for their army, clouds of dust for their ensigns. Now, what Prabhupada is saying in the purport is that there are when there are natural disturbances like blowing cyclones, too much heat or snowfall, and uprooting of trees by the hurricanes, it is to be understood that the demonic population is increasing, and so natural disturbances is also taking place. There are many countries on the globe, even at the present moment, where all these disturbances are current. This is true all over the world. There is insufficient sunshine, and there are always clouds in the sky, snowfall, and severe cold. These assure that such places are inhabited by demoniac people who are accustomed to all kinds of forbidden, sinful activities. So Prabhupada is very, very clear that all the problems or the disturbances is due to demoniac population, which is increasing. And going forward, we can clearly see today that if you have to do something good, it is very, very difficult. Very extremely difficult to do something good in today's day and time. You want to conduct a satsang, it's not easy. You want to construct a temple, it's not easy. Like, we want to have a temple in Gachibowli, right? The biggest problem we have is getting land, right? Now, why is that? Because now you can see all kinds of material activities which is happening, and hence you cannot find land for the temple. So that is what is, I mean, we see it as development, right? What the materialistic world or the people outside see it is as development. You look at getting a temple for Lord Ramchandra in Ayodhya, it was so difficult, so very difficult, long case, so much struggle, so many people gave up their life, and still people say that why are you constructing a temple? Why don't you construct a hospital, right? So we have such kind of fools and demoniac people who do not want good things to happen. And again, why they do not want? Because they don't have any authority. They are just independent and whimsical. So all this is all connected, and Bhagavatam is clearly saying this, right? So if you read our Shastras, you'll get that understanding and knowledge of the situation outside also. So that's why our Shastras are so very, very powerful, and you can get that intelligence by reading this Shastras, right? This purport is purely of 4 or 5 lines, and you can understand what is happening around the whole world. Why is it happening, right? So very simple. Sixth, the luminaries in the heavens were screened by masses of clouds, in which lightning sometimes flashed as though laughing. Darkness reigned everywhere, and nothing could be seen. So all these are the different symptoms which are being seen in the 14 planetary systems. The ocean with its high waves wailed aloud as if stricken with sorrow, and there was commotion among the creatures inhabiting the ocean. The rivers and lakes were also agitated, and lotuses withered. Sloka 8. Misty halos appeared around the sun and the moon during solar and lunar eclipses again and again. Claps of thunder were heard even without clouds, and sounds like those of rattling chariots emerged from the mountain caves. We'll move ahead. 9th. In the interior of the villages, she-jackals yelled portentously, vomiting strong fire from their mouths, and jackals and owls also joined them with their cries. Raising their necks, dogs cried here and there, now in the manner of singing and now of wailing. So all these are just symptoms of what is happening in the nature just before the birth of Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Let's move ahead. O Vidura, the asses ran hither and thither in herds, striking the earth with their hard hooves and wildly braying. So Prabhupada explained that asses are respectable as a race, and when they run here and there, it is understood to be a bad sign for human society. 12. Frightened by the braying of the asses, birds flew shrieking from the nets, while cattle in the cow sheds as well as in the woods passed dung and urine. So the cows were also troubled, and the birds were also troubled. So basically the whole nature is disturbed, including the inhabitants. The whole nature is disturbed due to the birth of Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Cows terrified yielded blood in place of milk. Clouds rained pus. The images of the gods in the temples shed tears, and trees fell down without a blast of wind. 14th. Ominous planets such as Mars and Saturn shone brighter and surpassed the auspicious ones such as Mercury, Jupiter, and Venus, as well as number of lunar mansions. Taking seemingly retrograde courses, the planets became in conflict with one another. So again, Mars and Saturn, these are not considered auspicious planets for in Vedic astrology, and planets such as Mercury, Jupiter, and Venus, these are considered as auspicious in our Vedic astrology. Again, Vedic astrology is a science, and it's a very, very precise science. So people who understand it, who know it, I mean, those have become rarer and rarer and rarer, and people have, I mean, again, they want to use this Vedic astronomy for their sense gratification. So again, that knowledge is slowly getting destroyed. But earlier, earlier this science was very much used, and was used to prepare all kinds of what should be done when, and those kinds of things. So that the aim was to actually not be in conflict with nature, and second thing was to be to always be under the understanding or under the influence that we want to, I mean, basically the whole thing was to serve the Supreme Lord and do it in an auspicious way. So that's why it was used. But now it's more about sense gratification, and slowly this knowledge is getting washed away or destroyed. But it's a true science. It's really people who know it are can use it and even misuse it, basically. So that's what it means. And again, all this is just being described what is happening in the universe during the birth of Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Let's move ahead. 15th. Marking these and many other omens of evil times, everyone but the four sage sons of Brahma, who were aware of the fall of Jaya and Vijaya and their birth as Diti's sons, was seized with fear. They did not know the secrets of these portents and thought that the dissolution of the universe was at hand. So the symptoms are like the dissolution or the destruction of the universe, which happens after the end of the day of Brahma, and after the so that they felt that is what is going to happen now, because they were not aware of that Jaya and Vijaya had fallen down and were born as demons. Now, in this, Prabhupada makes a very, very important point that to check, this is what the solution to this increase of demonic population is about. He says that the Vedic civilization, we had so many rules and regulations of social life, right? We used to hear from our grandparents, parents, that you should not do these things, you should do these things. So these are basically some rules and regulations which were there in Vedic society, right? It was not allowed that the girls and boys mix freely, because it was natural to get attracted, and then there could be problems. So there, and then there were this custom of marrying earlier, and so on and so forth, right? These were all done such that there were regulations and people were controlled in their behavior. And one of the most important sanskara, we have 6 samskaras. One of them is Garbhadana sanskara, which is for getting good children. And in Bhagavad Gita also, if you want, Arjuna is talking about this unwanted population of Varna Shankara in verse 1.42, when he says that if I destroy the elders, or if I kill everybody, the family traditions will be destroyed and the woman will become polluted, and so on and so forth. And then unwanted progeny will happen, which are Varna Shankaras basically. So since the family traditions will be broken, we will have unwanted progeny. And that's what Arjuna is also telling Krishna why he doesn't want to fight, as one of those reasons. So in order to have a peaceful population, this is what is the solution, that it is important to follow these Vedic rules and regulations, do these samskaras in life. Nowadays, I mean, I doubt, even I have also not done this for my children. I mean, we did not know this. And that's what, I mean, at least now, probably, since we have got some knowledge, probably going forward, we will try to follow, right? We at least now know, due to the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. So that's what is the solution for checking the increase of demoniac population. And that's what Prabhupada describes here. And he says that we cannot expect peace in the world when there are such kind of unwanted or Varna Shankaras present in the society, or demoniac people present in the society, right? Let's move ahead. 16th. So these two demons who appeared in ancient times, soon began to exhibit uncommon bodily features. They had steel-like frames which began to grow just like two great mountains. Okay. Now, this is where Prabhupada describes who is a demon and what are the two classes of men. So one of them is called demon and the other is called demigod. So basically, the demigods are concerned themselves with the spiritual upliftment of society, whereas the demons are concerned with physical and material upliftment. So the demons are only concerned with physical and material upliftment, and demigods are concerned with the spiritual upliftment. The two demons. Now, in today's society, probably, if you look at it, people don't want any classification. They say everybody is equal, but that's not the case, right? We had this Vedic system of varnas and ashramas just so that people knew their, I mean, it's like you can do all this modern jugglery, right? You should know your strengths and weaknesses and all that. That was what, it was very, very clearly defined in the varnashrama system, that you are good at this. This is what you should do in life so that you will be happy, peaceful, and then you can practice and you can do spiritual practices. So but today, they think that everybody is equal and hence anybody can do anything. And that's where they don't, we want to destroy all this Vedic system because we do not want any rules and regulations, right? Like the Vedic system says that the woman should always be protected. But nowadays, under the garb of feminism and under the garb of giving freedom, so-called freedom, people, women also themselves, they want to go out, they want to enjoy, and they do not want to be, basically, the Vedic system was not about controlling them. It was, they had more freedom, in fact. But this is all being upturned and is all being, I would say, destroyed, so that such that this authority and the concept of authority is not there, and people want to become independent. So that's why it's, as I said earlier also, it's important to have authority and important to have rules and regulations, especially the Vedic rules and regulations which were present, which are given in our Shastras, so that we have so that we have that peaceful life and we can then practice spirituality with all our, I would say, strength. Otherwise, if you are disturbed, it is difficult to even do spiritual practices. And this goal of all this Vedic system is finally to please the Supreme Lord, right? Sam siddhir haritoshanam. Otherwise, your life is just shram eva hi kevalam, right? And that's why, as I said, it's important to follow that system. but the demons don't want to do that, and they are only behind exploiting the material nature. Let's move ahead. 17. Their bodies became so tall that they seemed to kiss the sky with the crest of their gold crowns. They blocked the view of all directions, and while walking shook the earth at every step. Their arms were adorned with brilliant bracelets, and they stood as if covering the sun with their waist, which were bound with excellent and beautiful girdles. So, and a very important point in the purport which Prabhupada gives is, if a race appears strong in body, their country is materially considered to be among the highly advanced nations of the world. I mean, this is what we consider as the criteria, right, today, that if the people are strong, I mean, strong in body, if they appear strong in body, right, we consider those nations to be highly advanced. I mean, if you see, Americans are generally a little taller than us, right? So we consider that those people are materially, I mean, we consider that their habits, their way of life is better, and they are advanced, right? And today, one of the most important criteria, if you look at it, is sports, right? The country which wins more medals, people consider that they are strong, right? That's one of the aspects of being strong. And would want to follow their way of life, and that's why we Indians want to follow the Western world, because we see them as strong physically, taller, strong, looking better because of the fair skin also, and we want to follow their way of life, and that's where whatever they do, we also try to follow blindly, irrespective, and reject our Vedic system. So this is what Prabhupada is making a very subtle point, right? You see the greatness of Prabhupada. I mean, not just spiritual, but even the human consciousness or the human psychology, if you look at it, right? He's understanding that human psychology very, very, very clearly, and he gives those subtle points about human psychology in his purports. So it's not just spiritual, but even if you want to learn this human psychology, you should read this purports, right? And that's what is a very pertinent point which he has put here, that that people who appear strong, we feel that they are advanced, and that's what is the general trend, right? That's the trend in this world. Let's move on. 18th. Prajapati Kashyapa, the creator of the living entities, gave his twin sons their names. The one who was born first, he named Hiranyaksha, and the one who was first conceived by Titi, he named Hiranyakashipu. So now here, generally, I think we consider that person who is born first is elder, and the one who is born second is his younger, right? But the authoritative, I mean, here there is a point which is given that there is a Vedic literature called Pinda Siddhi, in which it is to be understood that someone who is conceived first is elder, and so the one who is born later is actually conceived first, and hence he is elder. So that's what it means. That's why Hiranyakashipu is elder and Hiranyaksha is the younger son. Okay, and that's what is just explained in this. 19th. The elder child Hiranyakashipu was unafraid of death from anyone within the three worlds, because he received a benediction from Lord Brahma. Now, this story of Hiranyakashipu will actually come in the 7th canto. It's just mentioned here by Maitreya Rishi to Vidura to explain. He was proud and puffed up due to his benediction and was able to bring all the three planetary systems under his control. Here, Prabhupada says that in the purport that Hiranyakashipu actually came from Vaikuntha, right? He has Jay and Vijay who have fallen down and they have come from Vaikuntha. And so they have asked for a boon which says that I should not be killed by anyone in this material world. Right? That's what Hiranyakashipu asked for. That's what his insurance policy was. That I should not be killed by anyone present in this material world. But again, no matter how powerful you become, no matter how much money you earn, you cannot be, there is no possibility, right? This is what Prabhupada says, that there is no possibility of continuing life eternally or keeping the conquered booty forever. So we see that in history, right? There were many great kings. They are now just part of history. That's all. Like Alexander, Akbar. They had, I mean, very, very small in compared to Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, but just to, because we don't, I mean, for us, we cannot understand, or we cannot get that perception of how strong Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu is. We can take these examples, but these people were very, very small in comparison to Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, but still greater from our understanding, right? That these great kings, they were present, they just died, and then they are just part of history. So it is not possible to live eternally. Nobody can live eternally. This place is Mritya Loka, and so birth, death, old age, and disease are always present in this planet, and we all will be lost in oblivion one day. Nobody can stay here forever, right? That's the point Prabhupada is making in the purport. Moving ahead, 20th. His younger brother Hiranyaksha was always ready to satisfy his elder brother by his activities. Hiranyaksha took a club on his shoulder and traveled all over the universe with a fighting spirit just to satisfy Hiranyakashipu. So now these two demon brothers, they just want to conquer everything, bring everything under their control. And hence Hiranyaksha, who is the younger brother, in order to satisfy his elder brother, he started going up and down. Like he went to Indra's planet, then he conquered everything, then he even went down, and we'll see what happens. So now again, another important point is the demoniac spirit is to train all family members to exploit the resource of this universe for personal sense gratification, whereas the godly spirit is to engage everything in the spirit in the service of the Lord. So this is the difference between demoniac people and the demigods or the devotees of the Lord. And in fact, in Bhagavad Gita chapter 16, the demoniac qualities and the qualities of devotees is described in very detail, like anger, greed, lust. These are like royal roads to hell. So the demoniac people are always lusty, always angry, always greedy. And that's what shows up, right? They are training even their family members to exploit the resources more and more, more and more. That's the greed we can see around, even, I mean, we can see in the world today. We are not satisfied with what we have, and we want more and more and more. And then that leads to catastrophe because of the greed and lust and power, right? It leads to the fall down. And it is just finally, end of the day, Shram Evahi Kevalam. That's what happens. But people do not realize it and die a miserable death later. Moving ahead, 21. I think this is Hiranyaksha temper was difficult to control. He had anklets of gold tinkling about his feet. He was adorned with a gigantic garland, and he rested his huge mace on one of his shoulders. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but Ravana, when he saw this anklet of Hiranyaksha, it's like a mountain of gold. So you can imagine how big Hiranyaksha was. Like his I would say here, his nose ring was like a mountain of gold for Ravana, right? Later. So this demon was very, very big, and he had these anklets of gold, which were in his feet. So that's what is mentioned here. 22. His mental and bodily strength, as well as the boon conferred upon him, had made him proud. He feared death at the hands of no one, and there was no checking him. The gods, therefore, were seized with fear at his very sight, and they hid themselves, even as snakes hide themselves for fear of Garuda. Pretty straightforward. Let's move. 23. On not finding Indra and other demigods who had previously been intoxicated with power, the chief of the Daityas, seeing that they had all vanished before his might, roared loudly. So he went to conquer the heavenly kingdoms, and he wanted to have a fight with Indra, but Indra just vanished because he knew he could not fight. So he simply disappeared, and Hiranyaksha was angry and is roaring loudly. Basically, he wants a fight. Let's see where he goes for that. 24th. After returning from the heavenly kingdom, the mighty demon, who was like an elephant in wrath, for the sake of sport, dived into the deep ocean, which was roaring terribly. Now he dived into the ocean, right? He has conquered the upper planetary systems, is now going below. On his entering the ocean, the aquatic animals who formed the host of Varuna were stricken with fear and ran far away. Thus Hiranyaksha showed his splendor without dealing a blow. So now again, this shows the mentality of, right? Even today we can see the mentality of demoniac people. They want to show off. So that's what Hiranyaksha is doing. He is showing off, right? He's showing off his power. He's showing off his splendor. He's showing off his wealth. He's showing off whatnot, right? His physical strength. So that's what he's trying to do with all these activities. 26. Moving about in the ocean for many, many years, the mighty Hiranyaksha smote the gigantic wind-tossed waves again and again with his iron mace, and reached Vibhavari, the capital of Varuna. So Varuna is supposed to be the predominating deities of the waters, and his capital, which is known as Vibhavari, is within the watery kingdom. So again, he's trying to capture that. He's trying to go and fight with the king of Varuna. He wants to fight with Varuna, basically, not king of Varuna. Sorry, he wants to fight with the king of Vibhavari, who is Varuna, and that's why he reaches that place, and he challenges Varuna for a fight. Let's see. So Vibhavari is the home of Varuna, lord of the aquatic creatures and guardian of the lower regions of the universe, where the demons generally reside. There Hiranyaksha fell at Varuna's feet like a low-born man, and to make fun of him, he said with a smile, "Give me battle, O Supreme Lord." Now he's trying to challenge Varuna, but he's doing it in a sarcastic way. He's saying, "I want to fight," and he falls down on the feet of Varuna. In a sarcastic way, he wants to basically, he knows that he does not have that, I would say, humility, but he's trying to challenge him and want to fight with Varuna. 28. You are the guardian of an entire sphere and the ruler of wide fame. Having crushed the might of arrogant and conceited warriors, and having conquered all the Daityas and Danavas in the world, you once performed a Rajasuya sacrifice to the Lord. So Hiranyaksha is saying to Varuna that you are the guardian of the entire sphere, and a ruler of wide fame. So basically, he is challenging the king. And generally, that is what, if you want to be known, you go and challenge somebody who is powerful, so that people will now then know you. Right. So in order to show his power, he's going and trying to challenge Varuna. 29th. Thus mocked by an enemy whose vanity knew no bound, see pride, the worshipful Lord of the waters waxed angry, but by the dint of his reason, he managed to curb the anger that had sprung up in him, and he replied, "O dear one, we have now desisted from warfare, having grown too old for combat." So Varuna does not want to fight with Hiranyaksha, and so he says that I've become old and I do not want to fight. Please, so he just simply gives up, right? He doesn't want to fight. He knows there is no reason. Basically, he's trying to, Hiranyaksha is unnecessarily wanting war with him, and Varuna is not interested. So then what does Varuna say? 30th. You are so skilled in war that I do not see anyone else but the most ancient person, Lord Vishnu, who can give satisfaction in battle to you. Therefore, O chief of the Asuras, approach him, and whom even heroes like you mention with praise. So Varuna is now directing Hiranyaksha to his death, which is to fight with Lord Vishnu. So that, I mean, he's saying that because you are a fool and you want to die, let me direct you to that place. That's what he's doing here. He's telling, go and fight with Lord Vishnu. And Hiranyaksha, being so foolish, he actually goes, he finds out where the Lord is from Narad Muni, and then tries to approach him and have a fight with him. And that's where Varadev appears and kills Hiranyaksha. Varuna continued, on reaching him, you will be rid of your pride at once and will lie down on the field of battle, surrounded by dogs for eternal sleep. See what he's saying. It is in order to exterminate wicked fellows like you and to show his grace to the virtuous that he assumes his various incarnations like Varaha. So Varuna is clearly telling him what will happen to you. You will be rid of your pride. You have become too proud, and you will lie down in a field of battle surrounded by dogs, and you will be killed, and your body will be eaten by the dogs. And the Lord actually takes this incarnations just for this purpose, to kill demons like you, exterminate wicked fellows like you, and to show his grace to the virtuous, right? This is what is mentioned even in the Bhagavad Gita, Paritranaya Sadhunam, right? And Vinashaya Dushkritam. That's what is mentioned here. That the Lord takes the various incarnations. And I think that's where this chapter ends. And I think this is what I had for today. So I think we have finished a little early today. I think this is the first time it has happened. If there are questions, we can have those questions. We can have some discussion, comments, and if something I have said has hurt you, I'm extremely, I beg your forgiveness. Please forgive me. Today is Ekadashi, and we are reading about the appearance of Lord Varahadev. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Wonderful session. Thank you very much for Haribol. So one question I have.
Yeah.
So it's because everybody, all the devatas know the Hiranyaksha's power and all that. So overall, nobody is interested to fight with him. Nobody has fought. Okay, it's like whoever has come, like they just gave up, kind of thing. So that's all.
Yeah. See,
the devatas are very smart and they know that. Okay,
exactly.
There is no use of fighting with this fellow, and they have boons.
Correct. That's what.
and
Yeah.
Indra and everybody.
So the demigods are actually not interested because they know it is a losing battle, and and it is very clear to them that it is the will of Supreme Lord that he wants to fight with these fellows, right? He wants to enjoy that Virya Ras, right? So that's why the demigod, being aware of that, they simply do not want to fight and just, I would say, step aside and let the Lord actually tackle. Because finally, Jay and Vijay are devotees of the Lord, right? So the demigods don't want to actually deal with directly with those demigods, deal with those devotees of the Lord, in case they actually, I would say, offend them, right? That can also be one of the reasons. So they simply step aside and let the Lord deal with his devotees in the form of demons.
Yes, Prabhu. There is an important message as well for us here. So
Yeah.
we should know when to fight, when not to fight, when you keep it side, take side, and then focus on something else. Yeah, very important message is there for us. Thank you,
Yes,
Prabhu.
yes. And as I said, right, the one of the important messages in this chapter is about authority, right? And Prabhupada makes that point in the first statement. Even like, see, Prabhupada, when he left the planet, he gave an instruction to his disciples, and he said that please cooperate, right? That he had that thing, right? What does that mean? Please cooperate. Please cooperate means please follow an authority. That's why he set up an authority, GBC authority for ISKCON, so that no one person is responsible, but then there is an authority which can help and guide people, which can help and guide the society also. So Prabhupada was very, very clear about this. And I think for us also, it's very important that we have some authority in our life.
So in a nutshell, Prabhu, authority means working under or training under a Siksha Guru, taking his instruction, or taking under taking a Diksha Guru and working under his instruction. That is what it is, authority, right, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji. And it's not just working under, I mean, that is one aspect of it, but also consulting them when you are in trouble, consulting for things which are important for you in life, right? I mean, now you may not consult for everything, but then there are certain important things in life, right, where you must definitely go and take guidance from authority, which affects your spiritual well-being, which affects your even mental well-being, which affects your material well-being. So that's where you should seek guidance, and seek guidance from authority. And that's why you see that senior devotees, right, they are always under the shelter of that authority, and they are always in touch. I mean, we had a session, right, with Mataji, right? She had done Bhagavad Gita for blind children, right? And she was always talking about that. I write to my Guru Maharaj, and he tells me. Now that's what that is what you can understand, right? That she's trying to follow that authority. So senior devotees, if you look at Vaishnavas, they will always follow some authority.
Yes, Prabhu. Got it, Prabhu. Yeah. Thank you very much. Very well.
Hare Krishna.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Prabhu. Wonderful lecture. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Santosh Aditya Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Shreegopal Prabhu, thank you very much for a wonderful class.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Setting the basis of the next few chapters during this chapter.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Shreegopal Prabhu, and thank you for the introduction, Prabhu. Overview of all the chapters in the third canto to begin with.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Danvat Pranam. Thank you for the session.
Danvat Pranam, Mataji. Thank you.